Hello, I'm Dr. Cheryl with Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life by Henry David Thoreau. Our show tonight is about the wealth of finding the meaning of art. Our special guest this evening is Jennifer Ewing. Jennifer was born in Chicago. Her family recognized her drawing talents and sent her to the College Art Institute prior to receiving a BA degree with a major in art from Monmouth College, Illinois. Jennifer has always worked in some branch of art, whether it is teaching, illustration, technical graphics, museum education, and painting murals for commercial and residential clients. Jennifer moved to San Francisco from Colorado in 1981 and joined a historic artists collective in the Mission District in 1986, where she lives and works. Jennifer's life's purpose was revealed after the death of her father in 2004. This gave her the gift of the spirit boat as the metaphor for passage and a tool to invite others to find support in their lives. She creates spirit boats in various medias, painting, drawing, sculpture, installations exhibited in various venues since 2007. Jennifer is a leader to bring more art awareness to the world by leading group workshops in spirit boat making and tours for medical professionals in close observation of artworks. Her entrepreneurial skills in these areas are built from years of teaching artists, a student of spirituality, and operating her mural business. Jennifer's quest is to help people find meaning and new skill sets by engaging in art, whether that be through conversation, looking together, or making art. She demonstrates that art can be the antidote to the digital overload. Welcome, Jennifer. It's been a long time coming, but you're here. You're
Yes.
here.
Yay.
And the timing is perfect, I think, with what's going on with the technical, the tech community and the artist community especially. I mean, it's here too in Marin, but especially, because it's more condensed in the city, it's definitely easier to see in the city. And I've done your intro, and I just would like to know how did you really get to what you're doing? How did you, I know that your father was an impetus.
Yes, he was my motivation, and he continues to be my inspiration because I stay close to him. Every night I say thank you to my father, my mother, and all that came before me, and to everything good that's happened. So I practice gratitude in the morning and in the evening.
And both your mother and father are deceased?
That's correct.
So see, that's a good example of spirituality, of, being grateful. I mean, I'm grateful every morning, but be specific to your parents. I think that's wonderful,
Yeah, I start there because it's easy. It's easy to start with them and then to build out, in a loving kindness kind of meditation.
Yeah.
But I was lucky to have good parents, so I got a good start, and I've been very fortunate, and that's why I feel I'm motivated to help people today, because I had such a rich start that not to share it would be a shame.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And not to share your gift would be a shame for others.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, it's important
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah.
So, spirit boats.
Spirit boats. Yeah.
So please.
This is one I made because the impetus was I needed a tool to use in a workshop. I was accepted for a residency at the DeYoung Museum back in 2011, and I needed a project for people to come in and make with me.
Yeah.
So I had made a whole bunch of these prototypes, and no two are alike.
No,
so
of
once you
course, yeah.
start, they're all unique. So I had this little module, and believe it or not, this is made out of a water bottle. Okay, that's what's so amazing about it. There underneath, and this is transparent, translucent rather, and lightweight. I love it because you can just pick it up. It could even float if you want it to, but I wouldn't recommend putting plastic in the water because that's what this really is.
Yeah.
It's a water bottle that's cut along the sides, and the sides are used as the shell. And so it's very lightweight, and it's...
And what did you cover it with?
I use a tracing paper that I stain with coffee.
Oh, that's what that, yeah.
And that's why it looks so natural.
Yeah.
Is because I wanted to start using animal skin, but that's very expensive and hard to work with.
Right.
So my friend said there's different ways you can simulate that. You know, as an artist, you can do it. So I actually use coffee a lot in my medium, and I love it. It feels earthy. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of imbuing.
Well, it's part of the earth, you know, definitely.
Right.
So. And what wonderful hues of colors, in, you know, as far as the coffee goes, it's, you know, covers.
It's the more of a creamy one. And then what I like to say is in the spirit boat, things can come out of it, things can hang off of it, things can go through it. So this is another one that's got a little covering, a little shelter if you want. This is like a little kayak, and this is perhaps more like a little canoe.
Yeah.
But these are the basic shapes because the bottle comes up here.
Right,
and there's a way I teach people. The real secret is you can cut the plastic. If you used, like you went to Trader Joe's and you bought their water, their sparkly water, and you cut off the top of the bottle and the bottom, you'd have the sides, and you can take regular scissors and cut right down there and actually sculpt with it.
You know, this reminds me of either Thailand. I think Thailand, they have those boats that are covered, so you know, I mean, it's multi-dimensional and inspirational.
Yeah, thank you. What I like to say, Cheryl, is that it is universal. It's a metaphor for passage. A boat is transformative in that this was a bottle, now it's a boat, and it can relate to any culture.
Yeah, and the plastic isn't going out in the ocean and contaminating the sea life and the ocean.
Yeah. I live in Artist Cooperative in the Mission in San Francisco, and I just go raid our recycle bins, and I pick out plastic bottles, and I start cutting them apart because they start taking over my life. My whole spare bedroom is filled with plastic bottles that have been cut apart because that's what I need for workshops. That's my tool.
Right.
Yeah.
So other than these spirit boats, what other things? How do you teach? What else do you teach?
I like to say that I do three tools I love. One is sculpture, the other is painting, and I brought a couple of my paintings so we can
have this
interact.
painting right here, which is coming alive as we're sitting here, and I love it.
Yeah. And
it has a boat in it.
It does. It does. I'm going to take you on a journey through this painting in a minute.
Oh, sure.
So we can explore.
This is a wonderful exercise for people to, you know, to observe, to see how they can do the same thing.
Right. And the third thing I just wanted to add to this was drawing. So, and drawing, we can lead into the way I like to talk about touring art and how you can expand the experience through actually interacting through drawing. So those are three basic things. I do others, but those are my three loves.
Yeah.
So it's painting, sculpture,
and that's what's
drawing.
important.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. You asked about teaching.
Yes.
So, okay. So let's go on a journey. What I want to do tonight is for your audience, show how art can be fun, not scary.
No.
It doesn't have to make you wrong, that you've guessed the wrong thing. So you have a personal engagement with it so that you can go into it and learn more about yourself, learn about the world. And there's wonderful ways to do that. And it's becoming a trendy thing, actually, to do it. More and more people, more and more books are being written about it. More people are using a technique that was developed in museums at New York MoMA. So would you like to try something with me?
Yes, but I just want to add to what you said. In 1987, I think it was, I was doing accounting and finance, and my friend invited me. He's from Missouri, but he lives in San Francisco. He's an art teacher at Hamlin School. He invited me to come to this class. and the Chinese brush painting. And the master was from Canton, and he's a master. And in the Chinese culture, you have to study for 10 years under a master before you even become a master, which I was impatient, but that's all right. I'm American. I'm not Chinese. Well, maybe in a past life there's a Chinese monk in there. But anyway, so what it did though is it took me out of my left brain. And once I really got there and I was flowing, oh my God, it's like the floodgates open up and the free flow of painting. And I ended up being the star student because I went with it and I flowed in it because, to balance out, I did it to balance myself out from this left brain, so the right brain. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. What I think art does, and in a case like that where you really get into the zone of doing it, it creates great space for you. Oof. It's playful space. It's non-linear.
No.
It's limitless.
Creative. And it's totally creative.
And it's joyful. You're not worried about if A meets B or C.
Because like in Chinese brush painting, you can make mistakes constantly, but you can fix it, or it transcends.
Yeah.
It transcends into another, so if you just stay open. Yeah.
And it's a matter of getting to that point where you've shifted in your brain, because you can feel it happening. Suddenly you're nonverbal. Suddenly the world drops away, and you're in that amazing place of creativity that's so beautifully, like all your senses come alive in that space.
It does. Yeah, definitely. So you wanted to do? Yeah, I'm open.
Okay, I want to try out something on you that anybody can do, and what is at the root of it is the questions. Okay, if you ask the right questions, it can unlock the right information and the right doors. So these are real simple, and I'd love it for your viewers to understand this is a practice you can use not just with a painting, but you can use it with nature, you can use it anywhere, anytime, because it will really get you asking, it's like steered in the right direction, asking so that you can go in a good direction. So Cheryl, let's look at this painting for a second together. So the first thing I would ask is, what's happening for you in this painting?
Well, I see waterfalls. And I also see a person standing in the middle of all of this.
Okay.
And it's like waiting for the boat or getting, ready to go onto the boat.
Okay.
I think it's beautiful because it's simple, but yet there's so much going on.
Okay.
There is. And there's, I love the waterfall.
So the second part to this, it's called visual thinking strategies. So the second part is to check yourself. Okay, you mentioned a waterfall. So what makes you say a waterfall? Can you go a little deeper into that? What qualities does that have?
Well, flowing.
Flowing?
Flowing water.
Okay.
Water can be very soothing and very tranquil and meditative.
Right.
The patterns of water.
Okay.
And when it flows easily and effortlessly, then I'm one with nature. So that's how I see it. Is there's water down here because the boat is floating.
Down in the lower area?
Yeah, there's water down here, but yet there's like a shimmering waterfall in the background.
And what color is the waterfall?
Well, it's there's different hues, but the water is kind of a creamy color to me. And it could be the time of day that the light is on it. But it's moving. It's flowing.
Great.
Coming into whatever this is, a lake or stream or whatever.
The lower area there.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned seeing a person in there. Can you describe more? What made you say a person?
Well, when I was looking at the reflection on the camera, the shadow looks just like a person to me. I mean, it could be a tree, but I see two legs.
And is it off to the right or left here?
No, it's in the middle.
In the
it's
middle.
kind of in the middle
Ah, okay. And what color is it?
there. It's like black and
Black
brown.
and kind of charcoaly
Yeah,
in
yeah,
there?
yeah.
Mhm. Okay, I see it now. Okay. All right. That's so much fun when people start pulling out their own responses, because there's no right or wrong.
No, of course
Somebody
not.
else could look at that and miss the person, and maybe it's not a waterfall. It really doesn't matter in this case, because you're in this moment in time, you're interacting, you're encountering a painting, and you're trying to kind of make sense of it, but yet you're also trying to have a conversation with yourself. Like, here's what I think, and here's my associations with that, because art is all about associations. You know,
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
thing is next to what, or what's playing off of what. So that's great. And then you said you see a boat, so can you talk about the color of the boat?
Well, it's brownish with, I almost see like a goldish on the, I don't know if that's the front or the back.
Okay.
This looks like the front,
front
to me.
Okay.
There's like a gold shimmer, you know, kind of a gold shimmer. And then it looks like that it's not a sail, but, you know, cover. There's a cover that's kind of white, and it's, you know.
The white area there
The white
in the middle.
in the middle, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So the first two questions are, what do you see going on for you? Because if you say what's going on, that might be a trick question. It might be there's a right or wrong.
Yeah, no,
but for you, what
yeah.
do you see?
Right.
And then asking what makes you say that, because you go a little deeper and you start thinking, well, let's see. I did see that. Let me look again. And so the third part of it is, what more can you find? If you look again,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we're looking at each other right now, we're kind of looking away.
Yeah.
But every time we go back to art, we might see something new.
Yes.
So,
Well, like, to me, there's underneath on the water, there's growths of plant life.
okay,
But the shadow is dark. But I see that
down in the
there's-
lower.
Yeah, there's plant life in there.
Great.
And maybe some fireflies are flying around.
Great.
I mean,
Great.
you know, and there could be like a stream of bugs that are flying in there too. Now I can get creative.
You're bringing this painting to life, literally, with the plants in the water and the fireflies. It's coming alive.
Yeah, because it's coming. I saw the reflection on the camera, and to me, it's coming alive.
Great. Great. Cool.
And I'm an artist, so I can see it too. You know.
Yeah. Yeah,
anyway.
so your eye's kind of trained to know it. You know, you're used to using visual clues to tell you and to find pathways through things.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
if you're an artist,
once you get used to doing that, you know. I mean, I can remember as a kid, I would always see faces in different places, all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, and other people wouldn't see the faces, but I'd see the faces.
Yeah, you start looking for certain things to identify, like a nose or a forehead, and that's fun.
Yeah,
And
eyes stick out to me, and then the shape of the face.
yeah,
You know, and I mean,
Yeah.
you can see it if you look in anything. You can probably see it if
Yes.
you really want to.
yeah. And by doing that, do you feel a little bit more connected when you see a face? Is it something that like resonates with you? You feel like if a cloud has a face in it? Just curious. I'm wondering if, like, seeing faces, are they comforting for us? Or?
I think so. It's kind of to me, it's more of a spiritual thing, you know,
Yeah.
meaning that
Yeah.
it's connecting. It's connecting with whatever thing it is that I see it. It's a connection. It's connecting to my inner self,
Yeah.
you know,
Nice.
and it's creative because you
Yeah.
can see that.
Right. So this is probably a good time to tell you a little bit about the spirit boat in general.
Yes.
Okay, this is a sculptural tool that was developed, let's say. I saw the potential in a bottle, and like I was desperate for a project, and I thought, well, let's just play with this bottle and see what happens. So that worked out very well, because since then hundreds of people have made spirit boats in my workshop, and no two are alike,
No.
and they're they're totally, most everybody's totally engaged once they get started. I've never seen a person sit there and say, I don't know what to do. Because I think we're all inner art. We all have an inner artist that's so strong. We can put things together naturally, and we come alive really in that process. So that gives us a chance to make a physical thing to hold in your hand as a handheld project. But the other one I like to do is in my drawings and paintings, I create space. And that's where it started. It started with painting.
You create space.
Space.
Okay, explain what you mean.
Okay, so this has its own space. It's just here. You can measure it length, width, height. But here, you can go back, because I'm creating like a universe. The boat's here, but there's things behind it. And so I'm playing with a mysterious place. I always tell people that I try to paint the unknown rather than painting. I used to love to paint landscapes and hill towns and still life and people, and I've enjoyed many years of doing that. But when my dad died in 2004, I stopped dead, and I needed something else, because that was external painting. I would look at something externally and be able to interpret it, but it didn't feel like it was really me. So when I discovered spirit boats, that was when I started bringing more of me out into the art, and it totally transformed my life.
Yeah. Well, your father's probably in there helping.
He's great. He would be so happy. And every time I talk to anybody about this is done in honor of my father, I'm sure he's up there celebrating.
Of course, doing
for
a happy
me.
dance.
But it started, the reason I call him spirit boats is because when he died, my sister and I had to clear out his room. And all that he had left, really, he was in a home, so he had very few possessions.
Yeah.
But he had a stack of these papers that he had done these, he was an amateur mathematician, so he loved numbers, and he had done all these equations.
Wow.
And he had done them in a marker pen because he was going blind. He had macular degeneration, so his numbers were really wiggly, and they were so quirky and so much like him that
it was his art.
It was his, yeah, exactly. And that was like a remnant of him. It was, I thought, I can't, something told me, don't throw these papers away. So I just took a big stack of them, and I brought them back to San Francisco. And I took them in my studio, and I sat there in the middle of my studio crying my eyes out. I was so bereaved. We were very close. It was a really tough passage. So I thought, what can I do with this? But I had had a journey years before that where a boat came to me in a shamanic style journeying session.
Where were you?
I was with my curandera teacher in her house, and she had done some drumming for me to see what, she taught me about going downstairs, going through the portal, and looking around, finding if there was a spirit guide or some information there. And this big boat came to me. I remember it was like this Viking ship that, what is this? I had never encountered something like that on that level. I might have dreamed of one as a dream passes and fades, but this one really stuck with me. And so I was curious about this Viking ship. So I thought, well, if I have these numbers, let's make something out of them. So I started making boats out of collage. I just started like collaging the shape of a boat in my paintings. And then
this is before this.
This is years before this. This is 2005, and this didn't come about till 2010. So there's 5 years difference. So I started collaging these numbers from my father's, like what was left of him, and it felt like I was keeping his spirit alive. And so I thought, what am I going to call these things? So I started spirit boats. And I thought, is that really right? So I kept checking myself. A few months will go by, and I do some more paintings. I think, are these still spirit boats? Yeah, they are. And then later that year, Hurricane Katrina came, and I witnessed all the people being saved by lifeboats, or by rowboats. They became lifeboats. And I thought, no, the boat even expanded further for me, because it's not just about like my father's numbers anymore. So that's when the collage kind of
grew.
So it just became like an abstract style. I paint very mysteriously, and it's like a mystery.
Have you had any Katrina victims in your art classes?
No, but that would be good. And now I feel like, you know, spirit boat is timeless. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
metaphysical. So it
Yeah,
can go
of
through
course.
earth, fire, wind,
Yeah.
air,
All
of it.
All of it.
So I was thinking about how it would be appropriate for, it's great for healing, be appropriate for fire victims, you know, people,
gosh, yeah.
especially, you know, what's been happening. Because I've done it for different groups for grief release. And when you make a boat and something physical happens and you release it and you make a, you have a closure.
Yep.
You make something that gives you, in a ritual style, you have something that closes just a little bit. I mean, you can't close your grief off, but in that moment, it will give you a vehicle, a vessel for empowerment, I think, and for courage to go on. So that's what people have found in making the boats.
No, I think that it's a wonderful venue and exercise.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, my goodness.
So that's painting and sculpture. And so the evolution has been first the collages, then the paintings, then the sculpture, then the workshops.
Yeah.
But now I'm moving into an area that I'm very excited about, and that is helping especially medical professionals because they seem to be very receptive to this. And it's been proven in art museums all over the country are establishing programs in medical humanities. And what that means is medical students go on tour, usually in a museum, but they use art as the portal, just like we did our journey. What do you see? What does that remind you of? What more can you find?
It's just digging and opening.
Yes.
Opening up that channel that we all have.
Exactly. But in this tour and in this particular situation, it's a group process first. And then it's an individual process. Then it comes back to the group. So that they hear the dialogue between each other and they share. Because as we just learned, you have a point of view on this painting. Somebody else would see something totally different, and a third person sees something totally different.
Exactly.
So the perspectives are multiple, and you get a really rich feedback from one painting. Or you could use a sculpture. You can use a number of ways to do it. But
do you have any photos of your sculptures that we can put into the video?
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
good,
I can supply you with tons
good.
of photos of that and workshops.
I didn't
and
mean
all
to
that.
interrupt your flow.
Yeah,
So,
but what I love is this group process because you hear it. Each person sparks another person, and it's basically the same way we went through this, except more open-ended questions like, for example, what might be happening outside this picture frame? We see this, but if you went to the left or right or up or down, what more
That's
can
really
you find? Expanding the picture plane, because it could be, but that's like using your imagination, and that's what's really rich about it. Or look deeper, what do you see, like what textures do you find that might relate to something you need to know about? Say it's a dermatologist looking at this painting.
oh yeah, I mean,
Patterning and color and lines and all this. So it's really wonderful exercise. So they're finding that by having the medical students take out some part, like one semester or course in mindful observation, they do better because it builds empathy also between them and also between them and the human condition.
yeah. Oh,
as portrayed by the
and
art.
we need that more than ever right now,
Yeah,
especially in the tech community.
yeah. And if they would take a moment out, and any person that is digitally bound, like say imprisoned, and open up to something like looking at, so my whole thing is engaging people with art so that they can release that and find a release from the digital. And they can be making art, doing it in a workshop.
Oh, yeah.
They can be looking at art like we did, touring it, or we can have a conversation about it. Like we can brainstorm.
Have you thought about going like into San Quentin?
Yes, I have. There's a lot of red tape to go through to get there.
Yeah.
And I did apply at the San Francisco Juvenile Hall. And I'm working on my paperwork to get there because I do want to go in and offer that to the teens there.
You know, I have a friend who does some therapy, and she did go, she's not going anymore, but to the prison, and I can ask her how she got in that, if there's a source that might be able to help.
Thank you. Because I think that's a great audit. I mean, I would personally get so much out of it because it's going to take me outside my comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
Way
Oh,
big.
yeah,
I
sure.
did try out one at Mission High School in San Francisco. It's the African American Manhood series, and it's a class.
And what is that? You mean just like as an example for to be a man, an African American man? Or?
Yeah, it's a it's a class they take all year long if they sign up for it, and it's bringing in modalities of respect. It's building in respect, honoring. It's a little historical, like where you're coming from, where do you want to go, goal setting, all these things are important. So I love this teacher, and I offered him the Spirit Boat as a workshop just to see how I was tempted, I wanted to see how the kids would take it.
Yeah.
So I did 2 classes back to back, 15 in each class.
Yeah.
And I think the next one I do, I'm much more prepared, but I had about half of them making the Spirit Boat with me.
Oh.
But what was interesting is even if they didn't participate, which is
they were still
they
observing.
still came to the circle at the end, and we talked.
Yeah.
And it was.
Were they all African American?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They were. And
I'm sure some of them have come from a really hard beginning.
Oh my God. So a lot of their, like you mentioned, the jails, quite a few of their parents are incarcerated.
Oh, Lord.
So it's not an easy route.
Yeah.
But the boat also has it's a symbol of almost escape, a way to get out of something,
Well,
a way to
one
navigate.
of my meditations is, and this just came to me, is being on a dock and having a boat. It's a lake, but there's like fog in the background, and the boat comes up, and I just put all my troubles, all my whatever in the boat, and just watch it go away.
And it moves away from you.
Yeah, it moves away from me.
Yeah. That's the beauty.
The negative stuff that happens, And I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Oh, that's great. Because it's a wonderful way. I guess you could do other things like bury your stuff, or you could burn it. You could bring in the other elements, but somehow the water for us as humans is so magical.
It's nurturing.
Yeah.
It's flowing. It's, I think most people like to be in warm water.
Yes.
It's like being in the mom's belly.
Yeah.
It's it's just very nurturing and soothing.
Yeah. The boat is really wonderful. The way I look at the Spirit Boat is that I love it when people say, oh, it looks like it's an Inuit boat, or they use it in like the Viking or in Scandinavia, but it goes all over the world, really. And so that's exciting for me. But also the rituals and the histories and the stories it brings in. But all of this happened, I think, long ago, ancient times. I like to think that the boat was our earliest form of transportation. It certainly predated the wheel.
I mean, how did people come from Europe?
Yeah.
And on boat.
On boats. But even back in ancient man, like way back, prehistoric, that they might take a log and float down the river.
Exactly.
So the water was scary to go out on, but if you had something that floated, you had some security. So I always like to think that it's really, we're married to the idea of floating in a boat and how to get across the water.
And it's wonderful to go down a stream on a tube.
Yes.
And it's warm.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I did one show at UCSF at the Memory and Aging Center recently, and I was trying to theme my exhibitions, and I called it Spirit Boat Timeline. So I did the really kind of historic. I had something more primal in some of the paintings, and then the present day. But then I did Spirit Boat Future. And so why do they call them rocket ships? It's a ship. It's going into space, but it's still a boat. It's still like a space capsule. Yeah, it's there. So I like to think
in
that
the air.
Yes.
The abyss.
Yeah.
And not the water.
Yeah. So it's even in our future.
Well. This is interesting. So would you like to show your other painting?
Would you like to do that? Yeah, I
Yes.
brought one more.
Yes.
And it's a little different. It was a little earlier painting. This is fairly recent. And that's kind of I'm on a theme of icebergs, sort of. So you're seeing
that's
waterfall.
an iceberg.
It is.
Well, it is water.
It is water, and it can be
that's
waterfalls and icebergs, and it is
interesting.
very curly. But I have been thinking about icebergs lately because they're to me, I have a series
they're
called
melting?
Crying Ice. It's like they're
Yeah,
crying.
well, they're melting
Yeah.
between all the chemicals and the warmth.
This one, Cheryl, is one I wanted to bring because it brings in another symbol, and I love to work symbolically. So I work with the boat as just the symbol of passage and being able to invite. I always make it an invitation for somebody to imagine getting in the boat and going someplace.
Yes.
But this one, hope it's going to show up okay.
Yeah,
This one has something, another symbol I love, besides the ice and the boat. It has almost like a stepping thing here or a ladder.
Oh, okay.
It's like rungs of a ladder, and I've been doing a lot of ladders lately because and also another theme I'm going on is arcs. The spirit boats are becoming arcs because I think about preservation, or I think about our environment,
Oh, boy.
navigating rising sea levels and all this.
Yeah.
But also
Noah's
ladders.
Ark.
Noah's Ark, and that's important for me. But this one was about kind of the boat being like floating and transcendent. You know.
Interesting.
And so it's done a little bit differently on a different kind of surface. This was rougher. This is smoother. But I also like to think about the way the directions in the bottom part of it, down in here,
Right.
are going.
Right.
Because I like to think also in art, what direction is it taking you? Is it taking you up, sideways, down?
Right,
Where's
right.
the energy going?
Right.
So in this one,
It's
when I
going up.
paint, I'm turning it all different ways so that this represents water in a way, just the way it's runny,
Right,
like water is.
right.
Very kind of watery painting. But it's also going different directions, which I like, kind of forming a map, you know?
See, I would have seen trees in the back there.
Yeah,
I see, shadows of trees.
back in here.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought the stairs, but now, I see them, stepping down into, or out of, into.
Yeah, well, when I work so abstractly that
Oh,
it doesn't have to be a
no,
ladder or stairs or anything.
no.
It just be dots.
It's all interpretation.
Yeah, but it's a way to get in and out, of the boat.
No, but I love how you've got the fusing of the colors, and
Yeah.
it's mystical on some, it is.
Thank you. A lot of times I think about, like a camera has the lens. You know how you used to sometimes see the rounded corners from the lens. If you took a picture, you'd have these rounded corners.
Yes.
So I like to kind of see that as treating the edges as a way
lens.
to kind of give you a lens into something and kind of closing in the space, so it helps you kind of zoom into the center.
Yeah, no, that's a good approach.
Yeah. So
It's very interesting. That could be seaweed in there
yeah,
underneath.
yeah.
And again, if the sun is coming down into the water, it would show it,
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, you're talking a lot about light because you're saying shadows and stuff. So light is really an important part, I think, of art. And also not just light, but how it enlightens us,
Oh,
brings
boy.
light into our life.
Absolutely.
And I also want to add that one thing about art that's interesting is that it doesn't change. It stays constant. Whereas we don't, because we can look at a piece, just like you and I took a journey from
Right,
here.
right.
If we sat here next week and we went back to that painting, you might see totally different things
Oh,
in
yeah.
it because you've changed.
Yep.
So by doing that, we can track where we've been. Aha, I remember what I said last week, but now I see this. And so much of the way we observe in studying observation, it's like it takes time. Observation means you slow down. And this is what techies need to do.
Oh,
Slow down.
Totally. Yeah.
And not just look at something, but look into something.
The depth.
And that takes time. But we've changed over time. So say, for example, we're a week later, the painting's still the same painting. There's still all the same things there. But our biases, our filters have come in. Maybe we've had a bad week. You know, we don't feel so good or something. So it represents something totally different. So art is always a wonderful thing to keep coming back to and to build your relationships and to look at what more can you find in that. You know, so I love that part about teaching.
Well, and as far as like the individual, it's like they're either expanding or detracting, detracting, but expanding. And hopefully they just keep expanding. But I totally understand what you're saying about the techies, because it's so linear. It's so, myopic. And they do need to stop and rest and look at, something that is outside of the technology.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I see this every day.
Yeah. One thing that we're losing so bad in that respect is we're losing our intuition and our humanness.
And intuition comes out when you're doing this exercise, and expanding it. Because if you don't let your creative force, internal creative force go, you lose that intuition. I mean, trusting your intuition, I think, is the extremely important. Yeah. But when you exercise it more and more, then you trust it.
Yeah, I think what's important is trusting yourself, that you know how to access art, because sometimes art today can be so scary. People don't even know what to do. Like, we just had open studios, and people walk by because they're scared to go in. They're scared to confront it. They don't know. Maybe they feel like it's too expensive.
It's fear.
They're going to say the wrong thing. They don't know how to act around the artist. An art studio is very foreign to them. Whatever it is, but it's fear, and it's like, art should be so joyful, because it's always been our main tool to teach each other and to communicate.
I know one thing for myself is that when I see, and I see it in San Francisco, I see a lot of evil art, and there must be a lot of pain and anger, and I don't like seeing it, but then it also puts it in perspective that there's a lot of pain, suffering. And this is how they're getting it out.
Yeah, it's very expressive. It's an avenue for somebody to get out whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be pleasant, or it doesn't have to fit parameters.
No, I mean,
it's a way.
Art is to be free, and no matter where you're from, what where you're coming from, emotionally, mentally, physically. Yeah, I love to see these artists that can't paint with their hands, and they paint with their feet. Yes. I've seen the artists play piano with their feet, I mean, so they're utilizing their gift in whatever manner that is possible. Yeah. And there's a happiness when you're doing your art, no matter what, I mean, you're in that zone, whether you're a singer or a musician or a painter or a sculpture, it's spirit working through you. Yeah.
It's always a window, though. Even if it's really like crass graffiti on a wall that's breaking down and destroying a neighborhood. If you look at, you can put that lens on it. There's different ways to look at that.
Right.
But even if it's that, it's something that you can learn from yourself. Like, you start learning about your biases about that.
Oh, definitely.
Because some of the stuff I'm referencing, I just finished a wonderful book. It's called Visual Intelligence by Amy Herman. And she has worked for 20 years in training the CIA and first responders in observation techniques that really help them see what they need to in life-threatening situations.
Right then and
so
there.
You have visual clues, and you can train yourself. to open your vision to more things. And one of her big things is being objective about it. Like being honest with yourself. Why don't I really like this? Why is it pushing my buttons?
Right.
You know, what's in me that I'm seeing this? And it may not be accidental. It might be encountering something at a time in your life where you really do need to see. I sometimes look at when graffiti started happening on a lot of subway trains, and you'd see them going by. You'd be down on the ground and you look up and there'd be a subway train and it would be filled with graffiti. That's a whole different feeling than if that was a clean subway train.
Right, right.
But it also has a different kind of energy on it.
And it's a frustrated artist.
Yeah.
It's a frustrated, angry or sad or whatever, but that's an art coming out.
And it might be just somebody like being gutsy. They desperately want to leave their mark. And I think that's, we as humans have this instinct, we want to leave a mark. And that's what's so wonderful about art. It's a way that we've been able to understand it. Leaving your mark, if you develop a program or something and people can use, maybe that's a way of leaving a mark too. Program designers, techies, and all that.
Right.
But it's not from the heart.
No.
It's not something that is coming, like when I was painting external things, it's more like that when you go inside and you bring something out, then that's a
from your heart and your soul.
Right, and then it's a communication. You can share it, and then we can nurture each other through that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, like I say, I think what I wanted to leave tonight with people is just a recipe, like ways to think about art, so that it can be a tool that people can look at, not just art, but they can look at nature or their interiors or buildings, or all these things are all art. They've all been created. It's all in the spirit of creation. So
yeah. I mean, I'm amazed what I see around San Francisco. I see some of the most beautiful mosaics on walls. Yeah. And I think, all those kids are, mostly the ones I see in the Mission District and on even on Pine Street. I think there's one, and I mean they're all on Geary Street.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my God, they must have had a wonderful time putting that together.
Yeah.
I mean, they're mostly multicultural too.
Right.
And they're beautiful.
There's something wonderful about the spirit of people working together to create something. It's great if there's a shared intention in it, not just to do it. Yeah. But art is really, what are you doing it for? What are you bringing out in it? So getting to the core of that is great, because I think that's the real true thing that's going to keep it important, fundamental for people. It's like, why was that done? Understanding, like what's at the root of it.
And not judging.
Yes, being objective. And because looking at art is very subjective, and that's fine. That's what you need to do. You need to process it for yourself. What is it for you? But also it is like, well, what is it in the world? What does it mean? Also, what are the facts? What is real and what is not? What is real and what is manufactured? From shifting from the subject to the objective and being finding out that, because if you can track that, and it takes time, if you can track it, then you'll learn, and art can become a science. Art and science are closely related. It's like
the discovery.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the research and discovery.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't quite looked at it like that.
Yeah.
But it makes total sense.
Yeah. I've been lucky in my life because I've always had art in some aspect, so I feel very rich, and it's always helped me get through some hard times. Sure. I can imagine myself, zooming out. What I like to do if things get really bad down here, I'll just put on a different lens and zoom out. So I practice that. And I know you mentioned the 4 agreements in one of your shows before.
Yes, I do.
And I try to practice that all the time, because I think that is really great. And just art can be a tool for that too.
Of course.
Like, don't make assumptions. Check it out.
That's right.
So there's always more to learn.
Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. because sometimes out there there's not kindness happening.
Yeah.
So we have to be kindness from inside so we can share the kindness.
Yeah.
Now, if everybody could get it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my prayer.
Yes.
You know, everybody has their own individual way of expressing.
Yeah. But everybody's got eyes to see.
Yeah.
And everybody is observing. It's the level of observation that really can be amped up, because really looking at something rather than just looking at cursory, looking at it on your phone quickly, that's one thing. We're so overloaded with that. But really the antidote is like to remove yourself away from that, take some time out, really
maybe
look
go
deeper.
to a museum.
Museums are fine.
Go to an art gallery. I mean, there's plenty in San Francisco.
You can go to great public spaces and have wonderful feelings. Like,
I mean, it's almost wherever you go, you can find it.
Yeah. Museums are great because the space is open, very open and spacious. And the intention in an art museum is to bring in and honor the art. So it's already got a really kind of high level intention.
Right.
Is to set that art aside so that people can access it. And that's a wonderful thing. But other places too, like I love going into the San Francisco Public Library downtown, the main branch. And there's a space, it's like a spiral inside. And I look up, and it's very uplifting to follow that and to see that. And that's an art. That's a beautiful example of symbols.
I mentioned earlier about my friend who was an art teacher who got me into Chinese brush painting. He's retired now, so he has been diligently working with, he lives in the Hayes Valley. On October, it used to be on Laguna. They had an art space there.
Oh, yeah.
You know that? The Hayes Art Gallery or the art shop there?
I know that area, yeah.
Okay, well, they moved because there's the land was purchased and they're building some more housing. But they moved over to Octavia. So 2 weeks ago, I went there because I've known Earl for 30 years. And so he was doing the Aborigine rock painting.
Oh,
you know, I mean, they have all kinds of things, and they have art shows, and they have like one of those containers, and they use that. They lock it up, but they have artists that come and bring their art. So, you know, there's a lot of traffic there. And so people come in and they look. But anyway, I was painting with him on rocks, you know, because I'd never done that form of art before. And it's an ancient, you know, dots. They do dots. And so I got a little creative and I didn't do dots, but he said, here, here's another rock. So I did one with just dots, you know, in my own way. But, you know, it's keeping that flow going.
Yes.
And I'm glad that it's there because people need to, you know, exercise their artistic side. A lot of people don't think they are, but you have to explore it.
Right. It's just being aware, too, that if you want art in your life, find what gives you joy and make it, create an art.
Yeah, whatever.
Cooking.
Yeah,
you know, if you're taking a luxurious bubble bath, you know, there's an art to taking a bubble bath.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
anything can be.
The art of communication. Oh, my Lord. It takes practice. Anyway, wow. Well, we only have like 5 minutes left.
Okay.
So you know, are there any just absolute wonderful giveaways or, you know, nuggets of information that you want to share that you haven't shared, or just reiterating whatever you're comfortable with?
You know, something's just come up while we're sitting here, you know, in the moment. For people to try this is to find a friend and find something. It can be a picture in a book. It can be something on your iPhone. It can be any image at all. And if you don't want to stick to an image, you can look at a tree together or, you know, a building together. But start exploring and asking each other, like, what do you see? You know, like, and then what is it about that? Can you tell me more about that? You know, and then
Digging
also,
deeper, yeah.
like, what else is there? Like, what does that bring up for you? So people start talking in the language, a different kind of communication, instead of the same old, same old.
Yeah.
You know, we're all kind of in a rut about how we talk to each other. And a lot of it's texting, and there's so much missing there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just kind of use those it's a strategy, and you see where it goes, and then you look at something else.
It's expanding, you know,
Yeah.
expanding the mind, expanding the communication, expanding your vision.
Yeah, and also expanding your imagination. Because
Yeah.
the language of art is easy, and it's all around us. It's line, texture, color, composition, arrangement. You know, it could go on and on. But those are real simple things that it's all part of what we do. It's so elemental. It's so fundamental in our world. And then that may lead you to the next thing, or you go into your kitchen and you look at an arrangement and you go, what do I see in my refrigerator? Open up your refrigerator and make it like a study, like a still life. Hey, there's you know, a bowl of leftover, like rice and
Oatmeal.
beans or something, anything, but appreciate it. Appreciate it for the qualities that's there. I think that's so
That is key,
great.
I think, for any human being on this planet, is appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah. First of all, that you have eyes you can see. Your eyes are working.
Yeah.
And second of all, that you have things around you that are interesting to look at, that can be defined. We live, right now, we're very lucky that we live in a very rich society.
Oh,
we have
boy.
so much around us.
Yeah.
And if we don't like what we have, we can move it out of the way, or we can put something else there in its
Right,
place.
right.
So we have lots of options to do. But I just would,
Infinitely.
yeah. But I just want people to engage more with themselves through the portal of art.
Absolutely. That is like the understatement of what you're doing, is engaging through, you know, yourself, your heart, your soul,
Yeah.
tapping into that to be able to see the glory and the wonder of, you know, so many things, so many things to be grateful for. And we're all so busy doing, and not stopping and looking and seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for being here.
I am so happy that I could do
and I
this.
can't wait to get some more of your images of your sculptures
Okay.
that you've done, and whatever else you want to share, and we'll just put it in the, you know, into the video, into the movie.
Thank you. I might start with one thing. While my parents were alive, I did portrait busts of them. I used to work in clay. So I have my parents' portraits sitting on my shelf, like the ancient Romans used to have that
Oh, sure.
in their homes. And I feel so lucky that I was able to do that while they were alive, so they kind of live with me.
I understand. I had cousins that were, well, they're both gone now, and they were well into their 80s when they passed away. But we went on a cruise to, we went to the Passion Play in Oberammergau, but we took a boat on the Rhine, and I took a picture of them sitting across from me, and I painted that picture.
Oh, wonderful.
And I have it in storage. And my cousin turned out wonderful, but Rosalie said, I don't like it. Because she had glasses, and it's not easy to paint glasses.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the eyes and everything.
Yeah.
But I thought it was okay. You know, but she wasn't, she was too critical. But anyway, at least they got to see it before they passed away.
Oh, wonderful. So it's like a tribute for them.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, I adored them. They were my support.
Oh, great. That's nice.
So, well, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I think this is so valuable, and I'm sorry it took so long for you to be here, but you're here.
No, I'm very happy. It's like really good timing for me.
Great.
To do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You are what you are and where you are because of what goes into your mind. You can change who you are and what you are by changing what goes into your mind. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Eric, Brad, and Ginger. Thank you, thank you. And if you like our show, please let us know on hashtag Marin TV and our Facebook page, Marin TV. Bye for now.